Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Uh, Assuming everything is working right today. I don't have my headset in. Where's anyway? Happy Memorial Day. Did not realize it was Memorial Day this weekend, but apparently it is, and I hope that everybody is having a good one. I'm certainly having a good one. I was in the line at the ferry when I found out that it was Memorial Day. We were surrounded by roughly 1 million Washingtonians. It was not that bad, but yeah, that's yeah. My friend was like, "We're gonna go downtown," and it's like, "Okay, yeah, it sounds like fun." I was like, "I don't want to go downtown though. I'm gonna go over to the island," and then no. Anyway, happy Memorial Day. Thanks to the troops and stuff. So, anyway, today's show is going to be the Jupiter class recap. Last week I was going to do this last week, but I cut my finger on my bandsaw. It's not that big of a deal. It was a tiny little cut, and I got 3 stitches, and everything is fine. The sutures are out now, and there's a little fracture in the bone. And if you didn't know, if you go to an urgent care like I did, because no insurance, the urgent care gives you a CD with your X-ray on it. I don't have a CD reading device anymore. It's like 1990 level technology that you can get at the doctors these days. Great, wonderful stuff. But I mean, whatever. I got really great treatment, and I got no complaints about the treatment I got. But it's funny they're still giving out CDs. I mean, what the fuck, man? But hey, I study 16th century magic, so I shouldn't be complaining about 20th century medicine. All right, Jupiter magic. Let's see. So what are we doing? Let me make sure all my stuff is up in the right place here. Okay, so what we've been doing lately is we're going over the planetary magic classes that I offer on my site. This is my site over. So, all right, anyway, so this is my site over here. If you go to rufusopus.com and go over to courses, on the courses menu, if you go to the basic curriculum, no fee, there are all my basic conjuration classes. These are the classes that I think that every magician should have under their belt to begin doing the kind of world-building magic that I think occultists are supposed to be transforming themselves into. We're supposed to be becoming the kind of magicians that can transform the world according to our desires and our intentions and whatnot. But to do that, we need a basic set of skills, and that's what these classes are supposed to do. So the basic classes are Conjuration Magic, because Conjuration is like the key to all the kinds of magic that we do. And if you're going to base it on the 16th century conjure stuff that I'm into, grimoires are perhaps the most effective method of working with magic and these invisible spirits that are our co-workers and our entities that we co-create the universe with. I believe conjuration is the key to all of it. If you're not conjuring spirits, I think you're just kind of making pretend for a lot of it, because we're not alone in this universe, and consciousness is it's how forces get distributed, is through consciousness, conscious awareness, intent, agreement and cooperation, harmony, harmonics, the whole vibe thing that we're doing. This is all based on the Corpus Hermeticum and the Divine Pymander and stuff like that. So, sorry, my camera is driving me nuts today. All right, okay, that's a little bit better. Anyway, All right. So these classes, if you go to courses and you go to the basic curriculum, Conjuration is the key to everything. There's stuff for HGA stuff and the Planetary Magic, the full set of Planetary Magic stuff. The only other thing that you need is, in my opinion, is elemental stuff. But the elemental stuff is pretty easy and straightforward. You ask the elemental kings for initiation, and they give it to you. It is very simple. But yeah, the whole stuff that we're all into here is, or that I'm all into here is just basically equipping magicians to be able to do magic. That's it. And this is. If you're studying Goetia or grimoires, the Goetia, the stuff that comes out of the 16th century, then you're going to want to know this stuff. These are the key things to it. And if you're interested in illumination, which was the point, in my opinion, of the great work that they were using all this magic for during the 16th century, it's a very effective method of doing that. But to do that, you need to understand how to conjure the spirits. You need to know how to seek initiations, and you need to know how to process that energy or whatever, that information, and then turn it into something useful, right? So that's what this is all about. It's all about getting people able to do the great work, to transform themselves into something above and beyond normal humanity, or normal existence, our normal understanding of our experiences. So anyway, rufusopus.com, courses, basic stuff. Today we're going over the Planetary Magic stuff, principles of Planetary Magic. These are the courses that you would get when you sign up for it. When you sign up, that's all free. All the stuff is for free. You just sign up for it and sign into your account, get yourself an account, and then go to town. Start up here with the introduction and overview, Saturn, and now we're up to Jupiter. I'm just doing a recap here with my weekly show. And when you go to the Jupiter class, you will see the full video that goes with the class. It's an hour, and it's a lot of stuff. For some reason, that just went back a page. I use a trackpad, not very well, but I use a trackpad, and sometimes it navigates for me in ways I don't expect. But here on the page, this down here is a link. You can't tell it's a link, it just looks like an orange word, but it says workbook. If you click on it, you're going to open up the workbook. Here's the workbook. Planetary Magic Principles Jupiter. And the other link down here is the presentation if you want to follow along with the video here. The presentation is this, and that's probably what I'll be going over today as we go through the class. All right, so, all right, yeah, I'm just going to jump right into it. All right, so previously in the Planetary Magic, Principles of Planetary Magical whatnottery and Hoositzer stuffs. So previously we had talked about Saturn. Saturn was the last planet that we were going over, which is the sphere of death and ends and terminations, and also fate and rebirth, all that stuff. In the chain of manifestation, Saturn is the first stop that an idea goes through. A recap of the chain of manifestation: everything that we experience here in the material world. Okay. There's something I wanted to do. Experience. Yes. All right. Everything we experience here in the material world. So the basic Hermetic principle is talked about in the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. This is the translation of it that I believe it was Newton, Sir Isaac Newton, had in his study. Specifically, do I have it? No, I don't. Specifically, crap, I thought I had it. Yeah, all right, so anyway, specifically, if we look at the phrases here, it says, let's see, it is true without lying, certain and most true, that which is below is like that which is above. and that which is above is like that which is below. To do ye mysteries of the one only thing, right? And then as it goes along, it says, its force is above all force, and it vanquishes and everything, blah, 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 blah. Where does it talk about it? So it was the world was created. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. So it talks about how if it falls here. It ascends from heaven. It ascends from earth to heaven, and again it descends to earth and receives the force of things superior and inferior. By this means they have the glory of the whole world, and thereby all obscurity shall fly away from you. Its force is above all force. It vanquishes every subtle thing and penetrates every solid thing. So was the world created. All right, so that's from the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. This is a core Hermetic text. It just establishes a lot of the principles that we follow as Hermeticists. The "as above, so below" phrase specifically comes from this tablet. It's a alchemical treatise from I believe, the 14th century. 16th century, somewhere in there. It's not super ancient, but it is one of the core neo-hermetic principle things that help frame our pursuit of enlightenment, empowerment, and attunement with the whole hermetic whatever it is that we're doing. The "as above, so below," and the whole principle of rising through the spheres and returning in power is basically what I was trying to point out here in this Emerald Tablet. It says it ascends from the earth to heaven. It descends again and receives ye forces of things superior and inferior. So the way we do that as magicians within the system that I teach, the reason I talk about conjuration is we conjure these spirits of the above world, these 7 governors of the different spheres, and then we interact with them above, because that which is above is like that which is here below, and then what we speak to them about up in our rituals, after we conjure them in our statements of intent, the things we talk to them about are what then come into being, right, through the process of manifestation. Okay, so chain of manifestation is what we're talking about. The chain of manifestation is how this whole thing works. This whole "as above, so below" becomes what we experience, and how magicians tap into this kind of thing is by conjuring spirits, rising up into the spheres where they're at, meeting them in their home and telling them what we want them to do, and then letting them run with it and letting it descend down through the other spheres into the material world, where it becomes the things that we experience, right? Our day-to-day lives, our breath that we breathe, all that stuff, And this is all a reflection of the core Hermetic principles from the Corpus Hermeticum, which teaches that there's the mind of God, and it spoke certain holy word, it contracted against itself and created everything within everything, and is what it is, right? In the Orphic Mysteries, there's another interpretation of the same kind of story about how Zeus became all in all and expressed everything. After he became the demiurge, he expressed everything through himself and became everything all in all. In a similar way to this whole Corpus Hermeticum thing, right? And regardless of what the core belief system is, the method that we use to return to empowered human magicians is by conjuring these intelligences of these 7 spheres, right? And the 7 spheres are a model of the energies that get applied to each of these 7 powers get applied to an idea as it descends towards this material world as part of this Hermetic process of manifestation, right? So it goes to Saturn and it gets Saturn qualities, it goes to Jupiter, it gets Jupiter qualities, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, the Moon, and then it gets turned over to the 4 elemental kings, and then that's how things come into being. This core process is called the chain of manifestation. When I talk about it, it's the chain of manifestation. It's the process. It's a process flow. It's like a project management plan. It's a life cycle. It's a a manifestation life cycle process, whatever the fuck, I don't know. It's how things come into being, right? Saturn and then Jupiter and then Mars and then the sun. It's just a way of explaining how things happen in the material world that these ancient people came up with based on this system of planetary properties, right? That's it's complicated, it's sort of mysterious, but it's not that complicated. It's not that mysterious, you know. It's 7 forces with these each of the planets have all these principles and mysterious properties, right? And then there's intelligences, there's archangels, and they have legions of sub-spirits, and all these little spirits manifest these powers that are represented by these properties of the planets, right? So like there's Saturn, and then there's an archangel Cassiel, and then there's sub-spirits like Anazakia and whatever the other ones are. I can't remember off the top of my head. But like there's all these different spirits under them, right? And they all represent aspects of Saturn, and some of them are going to be closer to deity-like energy that is more pure and raw, and some of them are going to be more closer to like physical material world energy, and it's going to feel a little bit more physical, like a biker kind of spirit instead, you know, is how some people describe their terrestrial spirit encounters, you know. They like the people who interact with the Saturn spirit of the Lemegeton from the Goetia might have a certain type of experience rather than the experience of Tafkiel, the archangel of Saturn, or Cassiel, the archangel of Saturn from the Tycho Brahe's whatever, you know. But all these different medieval Renaissance grimoire systems of conjuring spirits, they were all broken down around the idea of a 7-planet system. You know, the 7 planets were the common language of all the different systems. So if you understand planetary magic, you're going to understand the Heptameron, you're going to understand the Goetia, you're going to understand the True Grimoire, you're going to understand most of the Golden Dawn system of magic, 7/10 of it anyway. You're going to understand 7/10 of the Kabbalah, you know. You understand so much of what we're doing, but you also understand everything you need to understand from a Hellenic mystical approach to doing magic and to influencing your day-to-day experiences from that cosmology, which is all I ever needed to do magic, right? So anyway, so that's why we're doing the chain of manifestation. That's why we're going to study each of the planets. So the Jupiter planet, the planetary sphere of Jupiter, represents all of the powers of Jupiter. So like in Saturn, you can think of it as like this idea is passing through the 7 spheres and becoming a material thing. Nothing except just asking elementals. Yeah, it's CV12. That's actually very true. Yes, it really is simply that simple. My own elemental initiation consisted of doing a race against the elements, right? And this was all based on the 21 Lessons of Merlin by Douglas Munro, which was a very fake, new agey, Wiccan-y kind of approach to the mysteries, as it were, from the 90s. And I was 16, and it wasn't my fault. But I thought it was cool, and I did it. And you know what, honestly, it turns out that later on, years later, when I actually learned how to conjure spirits, I conjured the 4 elemental kings, and they were like, yeah, that actually counted because you were sincere about it, and we agreed to it. And the way it was presented in the book was you made a deal with the elemental spirits, and you agreed that you said, on such and such a date, I will race against you, and you try to stop me. And if I make it from one end of this corner to that corner over there within 4 minutes, then we'll consider it a complete initiation, you know. And if you agree to this bet, then here's a plate of offering. I'll check it in the morning. If I come back and the food is gone, then we'll agree that you've agreed to it. And then you raise the spirits, right? So you basically make a pact with the elemental kings, and you say, I'm going to do X as an ordeal, I'm suggesting, I'm betting you an initiation into your spheres, that I can finish a race between, you know, 1 block and 2 blocks away, and then on a certain day, you know, between the hours of 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m., if I can make it between here and there, you know, within a certain amount of time, then whatever, you know, and that's your bet. And then you put out a plate and you say, you know, here's a plate of pancakes or donuts or, you know, bread. Bread is probably more traditional. Sponge cake. I was all into, what's his name? Expedite at the time. So I was doing sponge cake for everything. But you can just put out whatever. And then the next morning you come out and see if the food's gone, then the elements have accepted your bet. Right. And then on the agreed upon date, you can't forget, you have to run the race. Right. And then I ran the race. I made it within the time allotted, and I considered myself initiated, you know. And during the race, there were elemental challenges that popped up, you know. There were like slippery spots of water when there wasn't any rain, you know. It just happened to be there on this path when there shouldn't have been. There was a super dry spot, you know, where I actually ran into all these different elemental conditions that were meaningful to me as part of the initiatory experience. So the question was nothing except just asking elementals. Yeah, you ask the elementals, but you set up an ordeal, you set up a method of initiation, and you apply a thing for it. You know, you set up some constraints. If you just ask the spirits for an initiation, they will always give you one. But if you let them set the constraints, then you kind of get what you deserve, you know. Planetary initiations, I don't ever suggest that you set any constraints, because I let the Orphic hymn set the constraints, and it's a very simple initiatory hymn. Each one of the planetary hymns of the Orphic hymn concludes in a way that is safe and beneficial for the person using it as an initiatory experience. It calls upon the lore of the planet. It calls upon the deity in a method that, in a way that the deity is used to responding to, and it calls out all the traits of that spirit, and then it shows up and it wraps it all up with a request for beneficial aid. So you can't ask for a better initiatory script than that, in my opinion. So that's in my opinion, that's the best way to do that. But there's not one of those for the elemental kings, right? So what do you have to do? You have to come up with something similar to that addresses each of these elemental spirits. In my modern, or my current expression of my conjuration, I call upon the king of, you know, the elemental king. So like Paimon, thou lord of the element of air, you know, the elemental kingdom of air. I call upon you now, and all of your sub-spirits to hear me. By your name and your seal, I call upon you. I'm using the Clavis Inferni seals these days for the 4 elemental kings, and then I ask them specifically for a thing that I want them to do. Usually it's the air spirits that I'm calling on, and it's so that I can hear information or spread information that needs to be spread or shared, or if I'm trying to find something that I can't find, or if I'm trying to put something into words that I can't find the right words for, you know, Paimon is my go-to guy for that these days. But Edgin is always going to be my favorite. Anyway, where was I? The elements, yeah. So anyway, back to Jupiter. Before I go too much further, let me see if I've got, yeah. June 10th, June 10th it is, I believe it's June 10th, the Jupiter is passing into Cancer on June 10th. Here locally, I think it's like around 8 a.m. I'm not sure for sure. I have to come up with something different than racing, because I can hardly walk without severe pain. All right, so yeah, if you're physically unable to do an elemental race per se, what is another ordeal? So there's emotional ordeals, right? Each of the elements has a very emotional side to it. There's a a mental ordeal. Yeah, I think that if you look at like fire as action and activity, the physical challenges that you would face in accomplishing an activity would be the initiatory aspect of the fire, and then you know earth is just being. So like setting up a time where you have to actually just be for a certain period of time without being interrupted is a very earth oriented initiatory challenge for the mind. If you set yourself a mental goal, like being able to memorize a script, like for your conjuration script, for example, that's a challenge, that can become an ordeal as part of your initiatory experience, or columns, like for the AA initiations, part of each grade you have to memorize a certain number of columns up to a certain point, and that's you're forcing your brain to make neurological connections. That's very much an air initiation, right? So set yourself a learning goal for that, for the air. For emotions, I mean, you've got I'm sure you have deep emotions that you have to deal with that are full of darkness. We all have a very dark shadow side to ourselves that needs to be dealt with. As magicians, if we're not fully aware of our emotional side of things, we very much are wrapped around other people's manifestations, right? Because we're all tied up in our emotions, we're not able to materialize our own desires and our will. So, facing those emotional darknesses can be a very intense, watery initiation, right? So, anyway, as you can imagine, there's lots of different ways to do all these different initiations, and doing each one individually is something that would be very unique for you, for sure. But those are just different ideas. If it's physically, if you can't just do a race, it doesn't have to be that way. There's lots of different ways that the spirits can challenge you, and the pain itself is the challenge, right? That's the main challenge for a lot of shamanic traditions, is the excruciating pain of existence. It's not something that we get to ignore the way other people do. So, yeah. So yeah, I hear you. I'm sorry that you're going through it. I wish that I could make it go away. But at the same time, there's a power in it. You have to find that. You have to find that and integrate it, because you're lucky in ways that other people are not. But, at least I try to think of it that way. So let's see. Anyway, back to Jupiter. So anyway, speaking of health and being in severe pain, one good way to alleviate that is with Jupiter magic. So Jupiter. So all right, going back to the actual thing here. Sorry, I do get distracted, and if anybody asks me questions like that, they will probably hear me talk about them. So June 10th. June 10th is the day that Jupiter is moving into Cancer. When it does move into Cancer, we are able to fulfill the requirements here. This is, by the way, esotericarchives.com. This is the Solomonic. I'm sorry, let me go back here. So esotericarchives.com. If you go down to Key of Solomon and then scroll down to it gets to a part where there's red text, and then you go to the Pinnacles of Jupiter, and the fourth pinnacle of Jupiter. All right, fourth pinnacle of Jupiter. It serveth to acquire riches and honor, and to possess much wealth. Its angel is Burial. It should be engraved upon silver in the day and hour of Jupiter when he is in the sign Cancer. Now, if you don't have silver to engrave it in, all right. So everybody who is anybody who has the urge or desire or need for or know somebody who needs either riches or honor, right? Anybody who needs money for any type of purchasing or buying of things. This is a free talisman that you can make for yourself at any time between June 10th and I think you got like 13 months of Jupiter being in Cancer, right? So every Thursday it says in the day and hour of Jupiter when he is in the sign of Cancer. Every Thursday, waxing or waning, you're going to get like at least three, maybe four. I can't remember off the top of my head. How many planetary hours are there in a day? I think pretty sure I know there's at least three. Oh my God. It's been a while. I don't feel bad at all. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 4. Duh. 7 times 4 is 28. Anyway. You get 4 hours a day, right? So for 13 months, 4 times 13 times 4. Anyway, you've got lots of opportunities to make this talisman. This is Key of Solomon is it's all right there. It's right there on esotericarchives.com. You can make that symbol. On my Facebook page, I posted it. Rufus Opus Facebook page has a picture of one that was made for me by JD and Lazuli back in 2000 and I think 2011, somewhere around then. But you're welcome to use that one, or you can use this. You draw your own. Sarah Mastros, she has a very good book on the Key of Solomon talisman. She has a modern version of it. She has all the names of it on there. Bariel is the name of the angel that you work with on this one. It says to engrave it in silver. I said earlier on a comment that you can use paper or tin or silver, or all those things should work. In theory, they should all work, but it does say silver. So find yourself some silver. Go to Goodwill. Doesn't have to be pure silver. It can be plate. It can be whatever. Go to a coin shop and get yourself a silver nickel and pound it on it with a hammer till it's flat, and use a Dremel tool to engrave on it if you want, in the planetary hour of Jupiter. Just make this thing. So I made it 13 years ago. I still have mine. I was going to show you, but I forgot to pull it out, but it's probably, honestly, it's probably great. Nope, it's not. Huh. I thought it would be right there. Maybe it's over in front of Jupiter. Well, I don't know where it is. Huh. Interesting, but I've had it for 13 years, right? So, yeah, and since I've made it, I've never been rich. I've never been like Bill Gates rich. I don't have $1 billion, but I've never been hungry. I've never been flat broke. I've never been evicted. I haven't had any of the problems that I used to have before I had that talisman. And it's definitely worth making, and I strongly recommend it. It's free to make. I am going to make some on my laser. I'm going to make them as many as I can, as many ways as possible. I'm coming up with some unique designs for it that nobody else has, but mine aren't going to be any better than anybody else's. All right, nobody else's that they make are going to be any better than yours. Okay, don't think that we who make talismans are making the only talismans that are going to be any good for this. All right, I didn't know what the hell I was doing when I made them, when I first started out. And they worked, and they don't have to be pretty. They just have to be made according to the directions when possible. And even that sort of, you can flub that a little bit. But June 10th, you don't have to flub anything for the next 13 months, okay? It is a great time for everybody to just engrave a talisman with this stuff. So it's important that people know that, I think. All right, so did I do the review of Saturn? I did the review of Saturn. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about with the burial thing. What Jupiter talisman is the most powerful to make, and is there a single date that is the most auspicious? I don't know. I'm not an astrologer. Definitely, you should talk to astrologers about that kind of thing. If you go back to the directions that the talisman says day and hour of Jupiter when he is in the sign of Cancer. Will there be some that are more auspicious than others? Some people will tell you that. Okay, and the rules of astrology will indicate that. The instructions say in the day and hour of Jupiter when he's in the sign of Cancer. Okay? That's what they say. Just follow the instructions and don't make it harder on yourself. All right? Don't make it harder on yourself. Magic is hard enough as it is, but it should never be so hard that you don't do it. All right? Find the easy way and do the magic. All right? Astrology will always tell you that it could be better and you shouldn't really do it. And, oh, you should check to see if the moon is void, of course. Maybe. You know, always check the moon. Maybe. All right. Doesn't say anything about that in these instructions. Maybe they assume that you just know that. Maybe. But astrology always tells you not to do magic. And I'm telling you to do the magic because you're a magician. Just do the magic. Sorry. All right. So anyway, I have opinions about that. So anyway, intro to Jupiter. So Jupiter is the second stop that an idea makes on the chain of manifestation. It's on the way towards materialization in the material world. It's where in Saturn you get fate, you get your birthday, but you also get your death day. It's sorrowful, it's cold, and it's wet, and it's cold, and it's the clammy reality of existence. You know, it's not fun, and it's not joyful. All right, Saturn is just wise, and it's without emotion. It just is what it is. Jupiter is full of joy. It's full of happiness. It's full of all the blessings. It is the sphere of the good father. It is the sphere of, if you've ever seen movies of people having a great time with their dad, that's what it's supposed to be like here, right? So the coldness of birth is Saturn. And if you look at the Kabbalah in Bina is feminine, all right, and it's the cold mother of the Kabbalah. Kabbalists have cold moms, apparently, but the warm father is over in Jupiter. Okay, so this is the greater benefic. All right, Saturn is the greater malefic. It's the big bad. The big sad, the big bad. Jupiter is the greater benefic. It's the big joy. It's the big good. It's the big bless. It's the big happy. It's the big ecstatic, exuberant joyfulness, right? It's full of awesomeness. It's just expansion, you know. It's the sphere of expansion. It's all about making things grow. So like it's a seed, and Jupiter walks by and it's a tree. Okay, it's the sudden expansion and fulfillment of the best possible outcome of things. It's something that would be great if that was what we were experiencing all the time, and for some reason we don't always experience all the joy all the time. By the way, I am going to always come across as if I am pursuing joy and experiencing joy because I focus on that. Okay, it does not mean that our lives are not full of sorrows and miseries and unhappinesses, right? What we worship is what we celebrate. Okay, what you worship in life is what you're gonna find to celebrate in your day-to-day life. Okay, if you worship money, you know, when you get money you'll be happy, and when you don't have money you won't be happy. When you worship happiness, joyfulness, you know, you'll find joy in your life, right? And sometimes that's money, and sometimes it's love, and sometimes it's companionship, and sometimes it's scenery, and sometimes it's your car working. You know, when you worship joviality, you know, all the other things that you think bring you the joy, they kind of fall into place because they're secondary to that, right? But it's sort of a trick. It's just a simple trick. When you pursue that good fatherness, that good relationship with the good father, and everybody didn't have a good father. You know, I have some really great friends who had really shit parents. You know, and I'm sorry about that. You know, but the Zeus father is not that father. You know, just imagine if you had a good dad. That's what you would have had with Zeus. And Zeus is your real dad. Zeus is a source of everything, right? That's the big mystery of the Dervani manuscript, is that Zeus is the source of all, right? The true father, the one that is in love with you and wants you to be happy, right? Not only that, Zeus is also a strong god, right? We think about Zeus as wealthy and happy and joyful and full of all the positive whatever, right? But he's tough, right? Lightning explodes things, right? He fought for 100 years against the Titans. Right, there was the Titanomachy. He didn't just overthrow his father Kronos one day. You know, it took years and years and years of fighting, and finally it was the Hecaton Kyres that buried the Titans to the point where they wouldn't rise up and keep fighting against them. Right, Zeus is. If you read the Orphic hymns that we have on theoa.com, there's an Orphic hymn to Zeus, right, that I use in our rituals and everything. But there's also an Orphic hymn to Zeus the Thunderbolt, and there's also a hymn to Zeus the Lightning, right? So there's the lightning flash and the thunderbolt. He's also the Aegis. The Aegis is a shield that he made with the image of Aix, the first Gorgon that he defeated in the Titanomachy, right? Aix was this a transgendered Gorgon that was fighting for Kronos, that Zeus defeated and put their image on the shield, the Aegis. It's their image is the Gorgon that you see on the shield, and that's his shield that he puts over us. The Aegis, when you read about it in the mythologies, is something mythical. It's not just a goat hide shield. It's something mythical that is a mystical shield that protects you. You know, it's something that you can hide behind from occult attacks, right? So when you get into the practical functionality of spiritual warfare, right? Zeus is an incredible deity to have on your side. He's armed and he's defensive, right? And he's not just some jovial, blundering, gonna put my dick in everything god that everybody wants to pretend he is. He's not some sky daddy looking to get laid. He's not always just this lustful thing, you know, that's out and about to impregnate everything. And he's not goofy with positive vibes. He's a warrior. He's the successful conqueror of the Titans. He overthrew them. He swallowed Metis. Metis is wit is cunning, is in intellect, is magical knowledge, is this understanding and confidence that comes from knowing that you're a badass, knowing that you're smarter than your enemy, and that you're going to outthink them, and you're going to outfight them, that you're stronger in battle, that your titanic enemies are going to fall to your thunderbolt. You know, that when Typhon raises his snaky little head, you're going to throw Mount Etna on him because you're Zeus. You know, not because you're some happy-go-lucky health and wealth and all the blessed kind of guy, but because you're the most powerful god, and you're going to throw things down because you're a warrior and you're a king, right? That's what Zeus is all about. He's powerful. He's incredible. He's a warrior. He's noble. He's good. Might makes right. People are like, well, you know, Zeus raped all these women, right? Did he? I mean, I'm not saying that in the theogony he's wrong. All right, and I'll get to that part where it's wrong. Okay, there's a wrong side to all that stuff. But he's Zeus, right? And he's the source of all, and he's also all in all, and he's all the women that he's raping too. He's in the women. The women are Zeus too. They deserve respect. They deserve honor. They deserve everything that women deserve because they are also gods, just like everybody else, right? Yes, absolutely, I was wrong, but also God is in all the terrible things, right? It doesn't make it okay. I'm not saying it makes it okay, all right? And I don't want to have that conversation. It never fucking works out the way I want it to. But it's anyway. But yeah. So anyway, the other part, and I do talk about this, is the dark side of Zeus is the patriarchy, right? It is the force of expansive goodness, but it's also the patriarchy, right? It's the might equals right, right? The idea that because we're the mighty, we're the stronger people, we must be right, even if what we're doing harms other people. You know, and even in my, like 2 minutes ago, I'm sitting there justifying all these evil things that Zeus did. Why would you do that? Why do we do that? Because we want it to be okay. We want the darkness to be okay. We want it to be all right, and for some higher power that makes it okay. And it's not ever going to be okay. All right, and I think that's part of why we're here, is that we all have to explain to Zeus that you don't get to be that way, and that maybe we don't, and the way we do that is by not being that way ourselves. You know, that's the only power we have to change that darkness in the world, is to not be like that, is to recognize that with all of that power and that authority comes blindness. The eye looks out, it doesn't look in. You know, we're projecting light out, and we're watching the light experience itself in itself. And we're processing it and sending it back up into the source. But it's not looking in, it's looking out. You know, the problems that we face in this world is because everybody's looking out from themselves, and they're telling you what you should think and what you should do, instead of looking in on what they should be doing about themselves, or listening. You know, who wants to listen to anybody else? I don't. You know, but anyway, Zeus is also about religiousness. The whole Christian church, the whole Judaic thing is definitely a manifestation of that Zeus principle, that patriarchal principle, that I'm going to tell you what to do because I'm in charge. The rulership, right? The side of Zeus that makes him noble and good and kingly and kind and good and all that stuff, right? He is the greater benefic, but also nobility thinks that way about themselves even when they're wrong. They're not like that. They are blind to their impact, right? Religiousness is all about that kind of thing, that blindness to your own impact, the blindness to your own hypocrisy, telling other people what they should think, you know, splinters and boards, you know, remove the plank from your knife. But Zeus is also Metis, right? Metis is the wit of Jupiter, but also the whole quick-wittedness, the cunningness that became cunning craft in English folklore and English magical traditions. The cunning man was somebody who understood how the herbs all work together and how the spirits dance according to certain tunes and how you call on them at certain times under certain conditions. The cunning man knew that. They had the cunning, the wit. The Metis taught Zeus pharmacopoeia, the art of the herbs, the herbal spellcraft, the sorceress spellcraft that was used to put his father to sleep, to create the potion that put Kronos to sleep, to create the ipecac, the expectorant that made Kronos throw up his brothers and sisters. It was the pharmacopoeia that was taught to him by Metis, right? Metis was part of Zeus. When you read about Zeus swallowing Metis and it becoming Athena, fully formed inside, this is that internalization of the secret art of changing the world through concentrating parts of nature and mixing it together with other parts of nature, understanding the chemistry that goes into making things harmonize according to your will. He made a potion that he administered to his father to make his father sleep and throw up his brothers. You change the world with this internalized understanding of how things work. The process of the great work, the process of alchemy is to take nature and expand it, dissolve it, and concentrate parts of it, and then use that concentrate here and there to change chemically the vibration of things according to your will, right? That's what Zeus did with that Metis knowledge. That's what Metis is. Metis needs to be part of you. Part of being a magician is this years-long process of absorbing all this lore about all these gods. I'm going over Jupiter today, and Saturn before, and all the other planets. We immerse ourselves in all this stuff about all these qualities and properties of these 7 nodes on this chain of manifestation that becomes our material experience, right? And why do we have to immerse ourselves in all this information? It's so that we can gather that information together and then have it and condense it and then dissolve it and concentrate it and then use it the way we want. We have to hear the harmonies so that we understand how to make the harmonies ourselves when it's time for us to write our own song. Okay, you go back to the Hermetic principles of the Emerald Tablet of Hermes. You rise through the spheres, you gather the pieces of those elements, and then you bring it back to create this world, and thus was the world created, right? We create our own harmonies that the universe responds to with our experiences, okay? Jupiter is one part of this process, right? But it's got different aspects to it, Anyway, Zeus is a source of generation. That's why he's putting his dick in everything in all the mythologies. He's starting things that lead to fun and joy, and also trouble, right? Everything in this universe has trouble along with it. That's one of the main lessons of everything that Zeus starts, is that everything comes with challenges, and nothing's ever easy. And if you try real hard, sometimes you succeed and you get these wonderful benefits, but a lot of the times you also end up just shoveling the poop out. Like Hercules and cleaning out the stables. That's just, it's not always fun. But Jupiter is also about expansion, also the warrior, all that stuff. Let's see. Yeah, can't forget he's the patriarchy. But the key word of Jupiter is always going to be, for me, joy, right? Joy, that expansive positiveness of things. I guess there's some Protestant part of me that won't let me face any kind of joy without actually recognizing pain and suffering too. But But also, it's just there's a lot of that in the real world, so it's hard to pretend like that's not part of what we're going through. Yeah. So in the class itself, I do get into different ways to use the things that we talked about, those primary qualities. Sorcerer's Path, how to change the material world the way you want. Yeah, and throughout the class, I get into all the different aspects of the pinnacles of the spirits and what you can expect when you go through and actually start doing the magic of the spheres and how it transforms you as you go through the initiatory process. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go over all that stuff today. I've got a friend coming over here shortly, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. Let's see what else is going on. Okay. I wish I had all these things a little bit better organized, but I do not. So, all right. So let's see. Any questions? What Jupiter talisman is the most powerful? Oh yeah, Chris. Is there? Oh, anyway, Chris. Yeah, you asked if there was a better. I'm sorry, I went off on a little tangent there, but Chris, you are absolutely right. There probably is a good date for things to be more auspicious than not. I do think I get hung up on that. As you saw, I have issues, but yeah, there probably is a better Jupiter day than others. By all means, you should use that, but you should never let that stop you from doing magic is the main thing. Eduardo Felipe agrees, cough, cough. I wonder if metis is the root word of medicine. It probably is. I don't know. Could be medic. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thanks you all for joining. I hope you have a great Memorial Day. We're going to grill some steaks here in a little bit, and I hope you guys have as much fun as I do. Anyway, I will talk to you later.